February of 1999. So I'm going to record here the story of Hammy Kelley. Oh yeah. Well, I was born out here where I'm sitting right here tonight, February the 6th of 1929, about 9 o'clock in the morning, you see. I believe it was on a Wednesday, and that was a year of depression. But anyway, I was out here and raised on this farm, you know, and so, well, the first few years I don't remember too much, but I do remember, I guess about 1935, somewhere in there, I started to go to school, and I didn't like that. I wanted to stay with Mama, so I believe I cried. But anyway, so we get down there to McMahan, and I walk to school, you see. Oh, yeah. Well, this house out here that I'm in here tonight, it was built, I understand, in 1885. So that'll make it just around 114 years old, and me and this old house are still clicking. And now I'm 70 years old. I was 70 this month. Okay. Well, anyway, so I'm still here. And this house has got this living room, and it's got a fireplace in there. We don't use a fireplace, haven't used it in years. And it's got an upstairs, but I used to sleep up there in the winter and summer and all that good stuff, but the upstairs has been closed off a long time. I guess it was too hot in the summertime and too cold in the wintertime, what it might have been. Anyway, it just had this living room and a small dining room and a small kitchen and one small bathroom. And now I've got one average-sized bedroom and one small bedroom. But, well, I understand when this house was built, there was just this room in here and this upstairs. And I guess they had the kitchens outside because they were afraid of fire and so forth. And I know dadgum well they had the plumbing outside because there wasn't no plumbing on the inside. And anyway, getting back to going to school down to McMahan, well, I don't know how many, I think it was about 7 kids in my first grade, and I believe that all of us went from 1 year through high school together. And like I say, we walked down there to school, but they had had 2 little houses, 2 little schoolhouses. One of them was stucco and one of them was just frame building. Don't know how many folks all together went, but we had softball and basketball and such as alike, and you know, it's all on the outside naturally. It didn't have no indoor stuff, and the water faucet was outside, and had these big old wood heaters in there, wood stoves, you know, big old round things, and those wooden desks and all that good stuff. It'd swing up and down with a piece of metal in there to make them swing. Oh yeah. Stuff in a plate to put your ink and your pencil. But we had those good old wood stoves down there in those days, and so in the wintertime I remember that we would take biscuits and sausage to school, and I don't know whether we had anything else or not, maybe some bread and jelly or something like that, I'm not sure. But we didn't have too many apples and oranges and candies and things back in those days, because those were tough times, real tough times. So, in the meantime, over here at home, well, I had to, when I got a little bit bigger, several years old, I guess, well, I had to do a lot of chores around here, you know, like going and feeding the chickens and gathering the eggs and checking to see if there's any chicken snakes in there and all that stuff. And you know, somewhere along in there, well, we always had to clean out the chicken houses, clean out one of the roofs, and we'd hitch up the wagon and the mules and take the fertilizer, chicken manure, and spray it on the field and so forth, like that, you see. And then when I got a little bit older, well, I had all these other good chores. I had to go and slop the hogs, and then I had to milk the cows, because I could get more milk from these cows. Anybody else, you just tie a little calf off to the fence and milk the cow, and a lot of times I just squirted that milk right in my mouth. I like that old good old hot milk, that's right. And then, I did such a good job at milking the cows. Well, then my mother, she said, well, you're good at that, so you can get, you can make a lot of good butter, too. So a few days later, well, I had to get the old churn out, and then I'd churn that and make that butter, okay. So I had all these good chores out here, and there was times out here we had lots of chickens and lots of turkeys, and a lot of hogs. I don't think we had too many cattle, and we had just a few mules, horses, something like that. We had an old stallion named Big Boy, and my dad got $5 a lick when he bred that stallion to these mares around here and so forth. You see, this was way before the years of tractors and all that good stuff. So you bred your big old stallion to these mares and so forth to try to get these big colts so they make good plowing stock and all that good stuff. All right. So along the way, we had a lot of crops out here: cotton and corn, maize and high gear. Yeah, in the summertime, we had all these good things we planted in the garden. Now we had a couple acres of garden. We had beans and everything you can think of, beans and peas and corn. We had corn, okra, all kind of stuff. My mother made dewberry jelly, grape jelly, all that good stuff around here. Canned all that stuff for the wintertime, because that's what we had to eat in the wintertime, you see. So that was just fine, and that's all right. That's just good old farm life out here. And when I was a little old kid there, 7, 8, 10 years old, what it might have been, well, we had two Mexican houses over here. One of them was down here just a little bit north and east of the house, about 300 or 400 feet. And another one is down there, just west of the house, down there where my red shed is today. Mexican families lived in there. I don't remember how much they got paid or they worked on shares or whatever, but I remember some of them. Anyway, that was the days of growing up, and so we had, in the summertime, we had to do a lot of chopping cotton and pulling corn and baling hay, shocking hay, and that was before pulling corn, and pulling corn and putting it in the barn, all that good stuff. But anyway, this old house here now, this is 1999, and this house now is 114 years old, as well as I remember. They tell me it was built in 1885, and it's still hanging in here. So, somewhere along the line down there, well, I think it was back in the 30s, where we built a big barn out there. I didn't. Maybe my dad and Bart McGee built this big old 2-story barn with a loft and hay in the top and grain in the bottom and all that stuff, and place for the horses to get under, and in later years it was used for hog pens and all that good stuff. 1934, there was a water trough built out here, and I still got that water trough still working fine out there in the lot. And we had 2 chicken houses, and one chicken house is still there. I don't know what happened to the other one. I guess it got torn down somehow. One chicken house still there, not used anything except for tools and so forth. And I've got a 2-car garage out there. It was built back before my days and whatever. And I got an old smokehouse out there. So we used to kill hogs in the wintertime. My dad killed hogs in the wintertime and smoked this sausage and hang all this meat out there in the smokehouse. And that's the best sausage there was in this world. Had good taste to it then. We had a big old wash pot and all that stuff. And then we had these 2 black women down Pete Cole's pasture that lived way down in the pasture, Nolan and Bloom, and they'd come up on Monday mornings and wash and so forth. And Bloom, she was real old, and she dipped snuff all the time. And she walked around with a walking stick, grunting all the time, and she'd dipping that stuff, dipping snuff. So I'd mock her, so she'd try to chase me. She couldn't chase me, but anyway. That was a lot of fun, but that was way back yonder. And in the winter times, they'd come up here and help my mother quilt, too. So that was, that was way back in the 30s, I guess it was. So down at McMahan, now back to the school down there. Well, when I was about, I don't know, 4th, 5th grade, was come April Fool one time, and me and the 3 other fellows, we decided we wasn't going to go to school. We run off April Fools. So, yeah, we did. Went down to Tenney Creek, and I got the cotton picking poison ivy. Didn't go back to school for 2 weeks. Never did run off school no more. Anyway, that was way back in the 30s, I guess, and whatever it might have been. And so we had a lot of work to do over at this farm. And when the school was out, like on Saturdays and Sundays, so far we always had to go out and work in the field, maybe grubbing mesquites or doing one thing and another. There's always lots of work out here. And see, when I first went to school, the first year out of school, I think there was 7 of us in the 1st grade, and I think that same 7, I do believe it, we went on through from 1st grade through high school. But anyway, that was a long time ago, and I'm going to just take my time at recalling the story of my life, which some of it's interesting to me, and well, it's my life anyway, and other people may not be interested, but well, when I was very small, I don't know how old I was, maybe 5 or 6, 7, I'm not sure. My grandpa Kelley, he so-called gave me a Shetland pony. Maybe he just let me use it. That's what it amounted to. But I had that Shetland pony out here, and she wasn't too big. She was pretty small. But I'd ride this Shetland pony down to the road, 713 down there, a farmer market 713, they call it nowadays. Don't know what they call it then. They probably didn't call it nothing. It wasn't nothing but a dirt, gravel back in those days or whatever it might have been. But I rode this Shetland pony. She was, I think she was she was sort of black and a white looking, real little thing. And I'd ride her down the road, and we'd come back, and the barn was I'd be coming back to the south from the road, and the barn was off to the west. And so every day, I'd think she's going to come home to the house, and so I'd come to the house, or I'd start to wash the house, and she'd go to the barn, and I fell off every damn day. Oh, yeah. I never did get hurt, but I fell off every day. Never did get smart enough to figure out that mare that she's going to go to the barn every time. Anyway, I had her a few years, and I think he got her and done something with her and gave her to another one of my cousins or whatever. But anyway, so that was back in the 30s, okay. And, well, let me see here now. So, things were tough then. That was, the Depression was in October, starting October of 29, and I was born in February of 29, so things were real bad here. We had the WPA and all that good stuff, and people just didn't have no money whatsoever, and everybody was just poor and drove turkey out here. So back to McMahan School. Well, I just a little fella. Most of the weight in my life was about 158 pounds, I think. And that's when I was in the U.S. Army. But now we're 155 weight today. But anyway. So down there at McMahan School, well, we had a softball team, and I think I was a left fielder. Shoot, I wasn't about in the 7th grade. Didn't have too many folks down there, but I was a good ball player, good softball player. I catched that ball, but never did knock home run. Wasn't very much of a batter. When they throw the ball up there at the plate and I hit it, knock it right back to the pitcher. Didn't do too well at that. But I could catch the ball and I could run. So anyway, I was on the team. Well, I don't guess you had to be too good. But anyway. And then we had a basketball team down there. It's an old dirt floor, dirt out there, So, no gymnasium, nothing like that. So I like to play basketball. And so we'd go, sometime we'd go different other places, maybe Dale or Mendoza, Maxwell or Staple somewhere and play basketball or softball, whatever it was. It wasn't a heck of a lot of folks going to school out there in McMahan, but And we had plays out there, plays and, little school plays, acting things. I never was into that, but anyway. So, anyway, that rocked on for a while, and, well, I guess things went too fast, and so, let's see now. And I don't know, down there at McMahan in those days, we had, there was, when I was a little kid, there was two grocery stores, Sam Hambones, and had a post office in that. And across the street was Jim Chamberlain, had a grocery store there. And then there was a garage and filling station, so forth. Mechanic shop, filling station, and gas station. Curtis Owens had that, and Sherman Cole had a blacksmith shop. And back when I was a kid too, well, we had down there, we had Red Oak Domino Hall, and they didn't make much money. They sold red soda water and candy, and went in there and played dominoes and chewed tobacco and cussed and spit on the floor and all that good stuff. Oh, now in McMahan, Texas, my favorite uncle, Uncle Jack Garner, my mother's brother. Like I said just a moment ago, my favorite uncle. He was the barber in McMahan, Texas. Back in the 30s or 40s or somewhere in there. And he charged 25 cents for a haircut. The barber shop is still there. And Uncle Jack has been dead for years and years, and they say he was married 5 or 6 times. I just don't know. But he was one character. You see, when he got up in the morning, around 6 o'clock, I believe, that he'd get him a half a cup of whiskey and a half a cup of coffee. And after that first cup of half and half, he said, well, to hell with the coffee. And he started drinking whiskey and drank whiskey all day long. Oh, yeah. And the fellow dressed nice all the time, always dressed up real nice, but he lived by himself when I knew him, but he'd already been married all them time and so forth, so they tell me. And he lived right there in his barbershop. And it cost 25 cents to get a haircut, but most folks wouldn't go in there until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at noon. That's when he got his hands steadied down from drinking all day, you see. I'll declare. And so me and some of my buddies down there, the McGee boys, well, we used to go down there at night. I was up in the teenagers then, I guess. Maybe 12, 13, 14 years old, don't know. But I had me another horse in, and his name was Tony. He was a quarter horse, a cow horse, okay. So we'd congregate down there at night, and that was still within that old paved road down there back in those days. We had a little gravel down there. So we'd congregate down there by McMahan, my buddies and I, and we'd get off our horse and fill up our pockets with gravel. Oh, yeah. And so here we go roaring through McMahan. And we picked this gravel out of our pockets and throw it on this sheet iron roof of my Uncle Jack Garner's, my barber, you see. And he come out of that barber shop, and he knew damn well who it was. He'd start blowing he'd start shooting that shotgun in the sky. Fiddle-dee-dee, all day. Real blast, you see. So we'd go in there sometime, he'd always have his coat hanging up over on the side on the wall, so we'd put gravel in the coat pockets. We were real nice kids, you see. Oh, yeah. I'll declare. And so there was one time in the early 40s, I guess, that one of the few times that me and my cousin, a CB, Carlos Baker up there, my mother's sister's son, first cousins, okay? She was a Garner and my mother was a Garner. Anyway, so one time back in them 40s, well, me and CB, we went out in the hills riding horses one Sunday, I believe it was. We finally got back, but it was a mess. But anyway, so we were going out there this one Sunday, way back in the 40s, okay, 50-some odd years ago. So we were going to go and find, you see down around Tape1, they've got what they call this silver mine. So they've always said. Yeah, I guess they did get a little silver down there at one time. So we were going to ride down there in them hills. We didn't know exactly where to go. We thought we knew where to go, but we ain't found this silver mine yet. We went all through them hills and everything, and back in those days, well, half of the people that owned land down there, there wasn't no such thing as no fences, so you just go where you want to go. And we got out there in them cotton-picking hills, and first thing you know, we never found nothing even looking like it. We didn't know what the silver mine was or where it was, nothing else. And it got dark on us. Oh, and I mean, it's bracken pitch. And so, you know, I'd heard from somebody, I don't know who it was, but, you know, folks can't see too well when it's real dark. But horses can. They can see at night. So we finally decided, and we knew this, or I did, or he did, somebody knew. One of the two of us knew. They just let the horses have their reins. So we let the horses have their reins, and I got home, and I don't know when I ever talked to him after that, and I guess he got home all right too. He must have, he's still alive. But anyway, so we talked about that in, you know, later years, and then sometime here later about that. But anyway, so we made it back from my silver mine, but we just let them horses go, and they knew how to get to the house. So I don't guess our folks worried about us in those days. They wasn't worried about too much of nothing. But anyway, so that was another one of my stories out there. And then let's see now, what happened next? I guess I'll miss a lot of things here, but I guess I'll get on to after 1943, after my freshman year in high school, freshman year, made it that far, never failed that far. And so we didn't have enough folks down at McMahan or whatever, and so they discontinued the high school. So I had to go 44, 45, and 46. 1944, 1945, 1946. So I had to get on the cotton-picking yellow bus for about 9 months a year, whatever it might have been, and ride a bus from McMahan here, where I live today, to Lockhart to go to school. So like I just said, we didn't have no more high school in McMahan, but they had some undergrades or lesser grades or whatever until I believe about, about maybe 10 years later, they just had, you know, smaller children, smaller grades, whatever you call it. But anyway, so we get on this bus and we go to Lockhart. Oh yeah. So I guess 1944, whatever year it was, I had to start going to second year, sophomore year in high school, and somehow I got to skip a year or something. I don't know exactly how that worked out. But anyway, I believe I only had to go to school at 3 years or something like that. I don't know how to skip that year. Never did figure that out. But we'd catch this bus down here. I never was one that liked to read and all that stuff. And, you know, like I say, this is 1944, and we still didn't even have electricity out here where I live. We still had coal oil lanterns, and we had the fireplace. Where once in a while we had to go down the pasture and cut some wood, take the mules and the wagon down and cut some wood, haul it to the house. We had fireplace. Get hotter than the devil on one side and cold on the other. No circulation, no fans, no electricity, see. Still used the old outhouse out there. Still smelled the sucker. Oh, yeah. It was out here about 100 feet, about, I guess, south of the smokehouse. Okay. The smokehouse is still here. Okay. So, anyway, that was back in 1944. Went up there, catch that bus every morning down here at the road. 8 o'clock or 7:30, 8 o'clock. I don't know what it was. And like I say, I wasn't never very good at studying anything, so I got my lessons from a couple of gals that rode the bus, Earlene Adams and so forth. And I hope they had the answers right, because that's how I got out of high school, I guess. I don't know, but anyway. But I just never would. I never did like to study. especially with a coal-on lantern. The time I got home here in the afternoon from school, about 4 or 4:30, I had to work till dark. And when it got dark, I didn't say, Mom and Dad, what can I do now? Because I was tired out. I done worked, slopping the hogs, feeding the chickens, milking the cows, working in the garden, every cotton picking thing you can think of. You see, we had radios back then. Well, you know, I guess they were just battery radios. Like I said, we didn't have electricity yet. Oh, yeah. Well, my good buddy Riley King, he lived out here in McMahan in those days, back in them 40s, and he was the bus driver. He drove that old yellow bus to Lockhart. And, you know, and while he was waiting to school to get out that afternoon, he worked at Christ's Meat Market. Oh, yeah. So anyway, a lot of times I'd take my lunch up there at Lockhart, and I'd just go back out there on a yellow bus at noon and eat that lunch. Well, I had to do that most every day. Very seldom did I have 15 cents. Well, that's what it cost. They had across the road over there from the school, they had a place called Lamb's Cafe. And they had a Nickelodeon, and you could buy a hamburger for 15 cents. But this poor old country boy, he very seldom, I don't remember eating too many hamburgers in there, and I don't think I ever played a jukebox in there, because they cost a nickel, and we didn't have them nickels and 15 cents. But anyway, went over there a few times. Anyway, and so I had to go up there 1944, 1945, 1946, oh yeah. And so, somewhere up in there, I don't know what it is, 45, 46, somewhere. Well, I like to play basketball, and I had just made the first team basketball, and sad story here, but anyway. And I think I only played 1 or 2 games on the first team. And I swear, I was out here one day, and well, I had to hitchhike from basketball practice after school to get home 10 miles and hope somebody would pick me up. I guess I got picked up most of the time. I don't believe I think if I'd ever had to walk that whole 10 miles, I'd just quit. But anyway, my basketball deal didn't last too long. I was out here one day, and I just made that team, and I was on old Tony, this quarter horse gelding, chasing Bart McGee's cow across the road up here on the hill. It had been raining. They had a saddle on. Chasing that cow on across the road. So the horse, so did I. Horse slid down on the concrete that was after we got the road paved. Horse slid down, and my foot didn't get out of the stirrup, the right one, and it still beat up. So my athletic days were over. I had to wear crutches for a long time. My foot never did get just right. Just busted all the holy hell. So that's where it go. And anyway, I don't guess well, I'm back up about 10 years from 1946. I'm going to back up to 45, 46, what it was. Back up to 1936. Last day of June out here. Never will forget this long as live. Last day of June of 1936, and we got about 25 inches of rain in about 25 hours, something like that. Close to it. Never saw so much water in my life. Got this old creek down here, down west of the house here, about 1,000 or so feet down on the creek. Never was too big, but it got big that day, or them days, or whatever it was. Cattle drowned down there. My dad had about 8 or 10 acres of watermelons down there with stone mounds and round suckers. Just getting right, last June. Oh boy, all that rain, never seen like water. Next day we went down to Tillman. All these black folks down there, laughing up a storm, taking them watermelons out of that creek. busting them up on the dam there on the side of the creek bed, eating the heart out and going on, get them another. Hot damn. Oh yeah, never will forget that day. Anyway, those days, whatever. That's a long time ago. Anyway, so we got this red shed down there in the field down there, and not too many people have red sheds in the field, but we've got one down there, and it will use as still being it's in use today. And it was at one time it was used for hogs. My dad had acres and acres of hogs down there because there's a lot of rocks, sand rock down in that field. And we had that thing, I guess 8 or 10 acres was fenced off there for hogs, fenced hog wire and all that stuff. So we got this 12 by 36 red shed down there, and me and my dad built that sucker we built it in June of 1945, because that's where I got a piece of cement down there that says so that we did that. And it's a 12 by 30. So 12 of them 30, that's 360 square feet, and got a cement bottom in it, and it's just as good as new. 1945 we built that sucker. Oh yeah. World War II was still going on. Anyway, today I'm